On Monday, you may remember we told you about bad information about FEMA funding for victims of Hurricane Helene, and now there's even more where that came from. These are wild. Here are some of the other conspiracy theories that have recently popped up. These are completely garbage claims. One of them that the government manipulated the weather to target Republican states, and then the government used Helene to try to seize land in North Carolina to mine lithium. There is no evidence, zip, zero, nothing, to say this is true. It's false. And there are a lot of falsehoods out there. They're spreading like floodwater, you might say, on social media. So how do you talk to people in your life who believe utterly fake stories? Patrick Riccards is the head of a nonprofit group called Life After Hate, and he joins us now to talk all about it. Riccards, right?
Yes.
How do you do it?
Well, I think it's a challenge. I think, what we see now is there are flavors of hate for just about everybody these days. You can find somebody to blame for what you think you're not getting in your life. There's, the grievance politics has gotten worse and worse. I think, the lithium story is the perfect example. One of the largest growing segments of hateful ideology today is anti-government. The weather is nothing new. We've been accusing the Jewish community of manipulating weather in these groups for years. So it doesn't come as a surprise.
But, boiling blood is not conducive to clear thinking, right? So if people are scared or angry, I'm talking about people who are believing things, they're not going to be none of us are going to be rational. That's not how the mind or the body works. So how do I can understand why people latch on to things, but how do you get them to move off of it if they're still in that condition of being scared or angry?
I think particularly if it's somebody that you care about, if it's a family member, if it's a loved one, if it's a close friend, you have to do what you have to practice compassion, not condemnation. It's very easy when you see somebody saying things that are just so ridiculous that you want to condemn them, you want to confront them. That doesn't work. If you truly want to get people to come back, if you truly want to get them to realize the error in their thinking and in their ways, you have to show compassion. You have to seek to understand, where is it you're finding this information? Why do you believe what you believe? That's the only way you can begin the dialogue that's going to help them exit lives of extremism.
But you say in that dialogue not to fact-check people.
Yes.
How can that be?
Because when you fact-check people, you drive them deeper into their own rabbit hole. You drive them deeper into their own ideology. What they will do is they will claim, I found this online. And just saw your last segment. We can find anything online. I can find proof on multiple websites for the most ridiculous, outrageous gossip. They will simply say, look, I know that I am correct, and here's my proof for it. We don't want them to do that.
So does it make it worse when you do a news program and you say, here's what people are saying, these things are utterly untrue?
Not at all. I think what becomes really important when we look at this ideology, when we look at the problems of these extremism that we see, we have to cast more sunlight on the issue. If we don't do that, if we simply ignore it, we drive it deeper underground. We need to have these discussions in public. We need to call it out when we can.
I know, because you're not supposed to talk about these things. You're not supposed to talk about, religion, sex, politics at the dinner table, but you're saying talk about it. So how do you go from talking, right, engaging someone, using empathy, to actually changing their minds, bringing them back to reality, helping them understand that what they're believing is not true?
I think we often have to ask ourselves, why do they believe this? Why have they gone down this path? And what we typically see, I work at an organization called Life After Hate. We help individuals exit lives of violent extremism, help them leave online hate spaces. And what we often see there is there tends to be trauma behind the thought. They're pursuing these ideas because something has happened in their lives. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's going to trigger it. But you often realize that most of these folks, they're going to hit rock bottom. They're going to realize that their ideology is causing them great harm. You want to be there to help them get out when the time is right. You realize sometimes they're going to realize just in a moment of rare clarity that the things they've been trumpeting, they just realize aren't true. You want to be able to offer that helping hand to show them that there is a way to exit out of a life of hate.
But how do you get there? I mean, people hit rock bottom, whether they do or they don't, and they do it on their own. How do you get someone to the point where they're able to turn the page?
It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of discussions. What we do is we tend to work in two different ways. We have individuals that'll help them work through this. We'll help them address find mental health professionals who can help them deal with some of their issues, who will help them address some of the social and psychoeducational issues they're dealing with. But you also have to connect them with peers. You have to show them that there are individuals who once believed what they believed, who have seen the error in their ways and have gotten out. They need to realize that getting out is possible.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much for all of these tips.